this life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.
As you know, UFC 249 in the books. Justin Gaethje becomes the UFC interim lightweight champion, although he threw his belt on the ground immediately. Let's ask a very basic question. There's many, many to get to here about the situation. But first things first, based on what we've seen in his career, based on what we've seen in this transformation, starting with the James Vick fight. Wow, I'm off today. And then culminating with the Tony Ferguson victory on Saturday, BC, is Justin Gaethje the guy to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Wow, that is a loaded question, Luke. He just might be, and the reason is because this is just personally, I'm going to take the L. I'm going to come out and say Justin Gaethje is a lot better of a fighter than I thought he was. I wasn't sleeping on his 3-fight evolution to come back with those first-round knockouts. The patience and the poise, the added wrinkles from Trevor Whitman, I saw all that, right? I never thought that could be translated on the level where he could walk into hell with Tony Ferguson, a guy who is ready to risk it all at any time and be the more poised fighter, be the stronger fighter, be the smarter fighter, be everything across the board. Yes, he is a viable target for Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is better than I thought he was. I'll take the L. He'll take the W. And I loved even more, Luke, our interim title debate aside from last week. People seem to get a kick out of that. People also seem to misrepresent or misinterpret what I was actually saying. I absolutely love, though, Justin Gaethje basically doing what Magic Johnson did in 1990 when Sam Perkins celebrating in the locker room after they go to the finals. He goes, no, we don't celebrate Western Conference championships on this team, right? We act like you've been here. Wait for the real thing. I love that Justin Gaethje did that. I cannot wait for this fight. This guy was supposed to be left out of this title mix. He found his entry, Luke. He kicked the damn door in. There's so much I want to say about Tony Ferguson because I love and respect him, but this is Justin's moment, and he got me. Congratulations.
Yeah, this was such an important win. I mean, I want you to think about something here very clearly, right? And by the way, I too thought Tony Ferguson was going to win. I thought it made sense if you wanted to throw some shekels on top of Justin as a betting possible choice, but you're right. We both outright picked Tony Ferguson. We were both wrong. We both should say it out loud. Nevertheless, though, I think we both took Justin Gaethje seriously, and he showed pretty clearly why he deserves to be taken seriously. But I want to make another point about this, BC, which is there's a lot of really good fighters out there that we respect, that we like, that have nice, solid wins, impressive victories, come from behind moments without a real signature victory. And to this point, Justin Gaethje had some really nice wins. The Cerrone win was pretty good. The Barboza win was fantastic. Getting after Vic called him the Homer Simpson of MMA, that had to feel pretty good. And of course, Michael Johnson was exciting. And the other fights where he lost were all exciting. But to me, he didn't have that signature win. He did not beat an A-class opponent in a real way that made you say, I have to completely reevaluate this guy. I tweeted it on Saturday night. I will reiterate it here. This is not the Justin Gaethje that lost to Eddie Alvarez. This is not the Justin Gaethje that lost to Dustin Poirier. Now, I'm not saying those guys couldn't get another win if there was a rematch, but they would be fighting a very, very different animal. Justin Gaethje did not have to fight in such a way, BC, where we're really able to tell exactly how he's going to match up with Nurmagomedov, right? He didn't do really any wrestling, a couple of sprawls and some down blocking, maybe a handful of times, if that, and that was it. That doesn't really tell us if he's the guy to beat Nurmagomedov, but here's what he does tell us. It tells us he is in the upper echelon of that division. He is one of, in my mind, either the 2 or 3 best lightweights on earth, maybe the very best. And what intrigues me about it is not only did he ascend to a level of that division that I think a lot of folks were maybe a little bit skeptical he could when he came to the UFC, but now you are excited about the possibilities. You are wondering what's there. And what's so intriguing is that in many ways, BC, He's the opposite of Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov wants to strike as a function of either killing time in a round, catching his breath, changing things up a little bit, and then the wrestling is really how he wins. That is the way in which he has plied his trade. Justin Gaethje now 7 UFC fights, 0 submissions attempted, 0 takedowns attempted. That is unheard of.
Incredible.
Especially for this division. He is the opposite in many ways of Nurmagomedov. We know he's an A-class talent. I am sad about what's happened to Tony Ferguson. I think many of us are. I respect what he did, but the better man won that night, and I am very intrigued by the possibilities.
Yeah, I don't want to get off Justin Gaethje, the topic at this moment, because I do want to double down and reinterpret. When James Vick was calling him Homer Simpson, he was Arturo Gatti, which, by the way, is not a bad thing to be called. That means you're in it for the entertainment. You're in it to please the fans and regularly go out there and just show how ballsy you are and how badass. Gaethje is, in that discussion of the greatest in MMA history within that category. But that doesn't get it done at the end of the day to become an elite. The fact that he was able to make this evolution the way he has and raise his ceiling so dramatically, like, I have so much respect for Tony Ferguson that Justin Gaethje and the way he performed on Saturday night, I mean, I'm going from this level to here, in my opinion and expectations of what Justin Gaethje is credible and capable of, because I did not ever believe I could see him put on a performance where he never sacrifices the savage nature and the danger he brings to a fight with being able to keep it up at a high technical level. Luke, his ability to balance those two together, his ability to swing for the fences at almost every turn, yet not gas out, not get too wild, and outside of that uppercut that he was nearly stopped with to end round 2, never really put himself in a spot where he had become reckless. The ability to toe that line, I never thought it possible that Justin Gaethje could get there. Now you asked me to start this show. Does this make him a viable contender for Khabib? I think we just have to go. I got to see it now because I don't know how good this guy can be. This was brilliance, the ability to take smash mouth style fighting and put it together with a smart game plan. Very few in history, Luke, have been able to do that.
I love that term. And I would say this, you know who he reminds me of a little bit? The comparison will not make sense over its totality. It's not a totalizing comparison, but I will say this. Sometimes somebody comes along in a division and beats all the guys that they're not supposed to beat. Now, again, I don't know if he's going to beat Nurmagomedov. We have to see it. But I like his chances. I think he matches up, certainly at a bare minimum, in an interesting way, if not outright well. And I make this comparison to Fabricio Verdum. Verdum is not considered to be the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he went in there and submitted Fedor. He's not considered to be the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he submitted the greatest submission heavyweight of all time in Nogueira. Again, not considered to be the best, but he goes in there and takes the title from Cain Velasquez in Mexico. Here's this guy that just comes along, and you have all these greats in your mind. You have this ranking in your mind, and one guy just wipes it all out. Now, again, there's many differences, many differences, BC, I think we'd agree, between the careers and the division that he operates in, Fabricio Verdum in heavyweight, between Justin Gaethje and lightweight. I'm just here to say, you have these rankings in your mind. Tony versus Khabib, it's for everything, and I'm sad we're not going to get to see it. I want to say it one more time. But that's just not the way the cookie crumbles in this sport. Some guys just take the sport by the scruff of the neck, and they demand you give it to them. And on Saturday night, Justin Gaethje was one of those guys.
And I want to just remove from the table some of the opinions I saw in the aftermath that, maybe Tony shouldn't have cut weight to 55 a couple weeks ago. Or, maybe he shouldn't have taken this fight. Maybe he shouldn't have, he was preparing for a wrestler in Khabib and then he had to change. While certain kernels of that may be true, here's where and Jay in my ear really want me to move on. I am not ready to say anything but that was a 10 out of 10 performance from Gaethje because, Luke, I believe Ferguson came through with a 10 performance of his own, meaning you were going to have to kill him in that cage to beat him. And thankfully, Herb Dean stopped it at really the perfect moment because Tony is not going to go down. He took a cyborg level of shots. He took the equivalent of like 20 to 25 finishing shots and not only kept coming, that's one thing, but patiently was sort of in the fight despite getting knocked around like crazy. So that only adds to the performance of Justin Gaethje, like I mentioned, to never get caught into a super brawl, to never get caught in a reckless position, and to just stay the course. He had to beat a 12-fight win streak Tony Ferguson, who you can take nothing away from. Yes, I had said for a while, maybe this is too big of a gamble. I finally understood where he was coming from. He can't wait on Khabib. He can't follow him around. He had to make his own history. He took that swing against Gaethje. He was really willing to risk it all. He came up empty, but that only adds to what Gaethje did on Saturday night. Full respect here.
Last thing on this, I certainly echo everything you're saying, BC. And the other thing I would add here is, look, did it help that he had to go from, again, Nurmagomedov to arguably Nurmagomedov's opposite? It couldn't have helped. Did he have to cut weight 3 weeks out? It probably didn't help. But I just don't think,
I don't want to hear that stuff.
Is that the reason he lost? Or is the reason that he lost is that Justin Gaethje has utterly undergone a reformation of extraordinary proportions and does not get credit for how smart and talented of a fighter he is. Even today, BC, people are like, oh, Trevor Whitman is a genius. And he is. I would never say anything otherwise. He has guided this young man's career to great heights. He deserves a lot of credit. Don't take credit from Justin Gaethje either. He is smarter than he gets credit for. He makes great decisions in fights. He adhered to the game plan. He was disciplined, and he won, and it was no accident.
This life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.